Hi Eleftheria, how are you doing?
Oh, fine, you?
I'm fine. You know, last night I came across an article emphasizing on permafrost though in the context of climate change. I had no idea of it.
Really? We had a detailed lecture on permafrost in one of my previous university modules. Permafrost is permanently frozen layer below the Earth's surface that has remained below 0 degrees Celsius for more than 2 years. It consists of soil, graves, and sand, which are usually bound together by ice. Permafrost conditions occur in regions where the summer temperature is very low and the soil is unable to thaw during the summer period. Most permafrost is located in high latitudes or high mountain areas that cover approximately a quarter of the Earth's land surface. An important information is that the thickness of permafrost range from few meters to many hundred meters, and that depending on the local climate. Additionally, the active layer above permafrost annual freezing in winter and thawing during the summer period.
What else can you tell me about permafrost?
There are many examples of terrestrial permafrost landscapes which develop during glacial cold periods. Though the majority of permafrost zones are in the polar regions, or it can also be widespread approximately in half of the northern hemisphere. For example, permafrost often found in land area in the north hemisphere. For example, permafrost often found in Arctic regions such as Greenland, the US state of Alaska, Russia, China, and Europe. To be more precise, approximately 85% of Alaska is covered by permafrost, 55% of Russia and Canada, and probably all of the Antarctica.
Oh, that's really interesting actually. I'll do a small research.
Good luck and see you tomorrow.
I'll see you. Honestly, amongst all the climate change effects, permafrost is the one that draws the least consideration. I mean, there is remarkable research and some amazing papers, but no one mentions it. Especially if you consider about the effects that the permafrost thaw can cause. One of the issues is that animal and plant matter remains frozen beneath ice. Bacterial decomposition creates a notable amount of carbon dioxide and methane. The hazard beyond that is that when permafrost thaws, it discharges gradually massive amounts of carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, and this can cause a feedback mechanism. Research has shown that 20% of the permafrost will thaw by 2040, releasing 120 gigatons of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. In addition, what's really worrisome about permafrost is that it enhances the food and water insecurity, especially in the northern hemisphere and Alaska. Locals store their food in underground cellars, and permafrost thaw makes those cellars useless. Moreover, permafrost thaw increases the leakage of organic material into lakes, and which contributes into the algal growth, which reduces water quality. Local facilities are not sufficient in water purification. In addition, people living in those locations develop a sense of insecurity, and which might lead to mental issues as well, cause fear and stress is all over the place. You know, flooding into the fall of 2007 caused the evacuation of an entire village in Kivalina. Moreover, the one effect that really caught my attention is the unlocking of Asian diseases. When permafrost thaws, there is a possibility that a strain of microorganisms that was dormant under permafrost to be released with devastating effects for global health, with a chance of a modern pandemic. I'm really curious to get a greater insight in this topic.
Oh, actually, one of my lecturers did an astonishing job on this topic.
Do you think I can get to talk with him?
Yeah.
Hi there, you must be Petros, right?
Yes, that's Petros.
You're Eleftheria's friend.
Exactly.
Okay. And you've come to me to talk about permafrost?
Definitely.
Awesome. Okay, so as you probably are aware, permafrost is a very, very hot topic right now in the scientific world. And because of the increased human activity right now, it's influencing the greenhouse effect. As it influences the greenhouse effect, it's causing basically a rapid change in climate. And with this rapid change in climate, it's causing this phenomena called permafrost. Permafrost, essentially, as you know from your research, I'm sure, it's when the surface of the soil becomes defrosted and essentially thaws out. Now, this poses a very big problem to our planet because bacteria and viruses are able to seep into our waterways and cause a whole variety of problems to humanity, and not only humanity but the biodiversity within it. So this can affect livestock, other animals, insects and plants even. And so you might be asking yourself, how does this happen exactly, or what cases are there, for example, to support this? Well, in Siberia, for instance, there's unfortunately been an incident where a 12-year-old boy has died and 2,300 reindeer have perished too. Do you know how? No. It's because of this. A bacterium called Bacillus anthracis, an obligate pathogen. This bacteria is, we call them psychotolerant bacteria. This essentially means that they have properties which mean that they are highly adapted to these extremely cold conditions. An example would be they have antifreeze properties which regulate the osmotic pressure within the cell. And so this causes them to not be able to not freeze up during these conditions. So as you can imagine, the planet is warming up, the soil is thawing out, and so these bacteria are able to seep into our waterways, and essentially causing, for example, the case of the 2,300 dead reindeer and the boy. Because Bacillus anthracis, what it can do is it causes pulmonary infections, such as pneumonia, for example. And it's so resistant, this bacteria specifically, because it reproduces through spores. So as you can imagine, as soon as the ice melts, these spores are free to do what they want, essentially. And not only that, but scientists have also uncovered a whole host of different pathogens that we haven't dealt before with. And the problem is, our immunity has not developed a response to it. So as you can imagine, this poses a great threat to humanity. It could be the bubonic plague all over again. Do you know how disastrous that would be?
Yeah, I can imagine.
And that's why, as scientists, we need to figure out what is happening.
Hi guys, I was just listening to your conversation.
Hi Sam.
Yeah, I've been doing some research on the permafrost myself, and I've read some of the studies on the positive benefits of the thaw. For example, we've talked about how ancient diseases can be trapped under the ice, but other life forms can as well. For example, in 2012, a group of Russian scientists found the seeds of a Silene stenophila, which was over 30,000 years old, and from this sample they could regenerate the plant. Obviously, the benefit of this is there could be other ancient life forms that we can learn from that have been preserved under the ice. The people of Greenland have also benefited. Obviously, Greenland is covered by 75% permafrost, and from the environmental changes, the temperature is raised, leading to extra water from the ice melting. This goes through the hydroelectric dams and has increased electricity production. Also, food and agriculture have also benefited, with more fruit and veg diversity being able to be produced in the warmer soils. This has economic and societal benefits. Also, re-emergence of indigenous fish species such as the Greenland cod have also occurred.
Can you think of any ways that we can prevent permafrost thaw?
Obviously, the main way to prevent thawing is to reduce CO2 emissions, but I've also seen some studies suggesting that plants might help. For example, trees shade the ice from direct sunlight, as well as their roots removing water from the soil. This makes the ice a worse insulator, keeping it colder. Another study I've read suggested introducing cattle herds to the affected areas.
Oh, how does this then? Why?
Well, these kind of herds would have been about during the Ice Age, and the way they would help keep the ice colder is compact it with their movement, keeping it denser, and also keeping the ice underneath more cold.
That makes a lot of sense, actually.
Yeah, these herds as well they would also promote the production of CO2 consuming grasses through their fertilisation. So obviously it's not all doom and gloom.
No, obviously not. So I think that's a very important aspect that you raised. And I think maybe I was over exaggerating a bit. What do you think, Petros? I think we should look into it. I think maybe in the future. I think that'd be very nice. Thanks for listening, guys. We hope you learned a bit more about permafrost.
And don't forget to share with your families.
Subscribe below.
Leave a thumbs up.
And good night, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.